Testing, testing. Can somebody confirm my mic is working?
I can hear you, Mike.
Thanks, Brian.
Yes, I speak.
Everybody's mics are muted. If you're talking, we can't hear you on the Teams meeting.
Yeah, we also lost the feed from the owl.
I can hear you
Can you hear
now.
me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hey, Harold. Mike Poppich here. Can you confirm that Daz is aware that the owl feed is out? We can't see anything going on in the room or hear anything in the room. Harold, you're muted. If you were talking to us, we didn't hear it. Thank you, Daz. I saw your message.
A little bit worse than usual.
All right, so we have it on the owl. That should be working. Let's try it again on the phone. All right, can everybody hear us now?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
All right, sorry about that, technical difficulty.
Going back to that, was there anyone here from Phoenix Fort Wayne International Harvester on the line that wasn't able to speak before?
Yeah, it's your call.
Yes, this is Jamie with Table, representing Phoenix.
Okay.
Hear me good?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yeah, we'll have to, we had tabled you. Do we need to untable them?
I didn't think we got through with the vote. Oh, we did.
Okay.
Daz,
Yeah.
just sorry to interrupt, but this is the first that anyone online has been able to hear anything, so I didn't even know the meeting was called to order.
Okay. Yeah, the meeting was called to order at 9:01. So we've done introduction of our new commissioner with Craig Burgess, the architect and former state building commissioner. We did do a roll call. We did a review of the July 24 and June 24 minutes. Do you have anything on that, Mike?
No, I'm fine with them.
Okay. Anything on the IDH reports and updates? The determination reports? Yeah. There were no state building commissioner interpretations. And
Okay.
Daz gave us a update on the rulemaking updates.
Okay, I think I'm probably up to speed on those still.
Okay, so we are
Thank
now.
you.
at
Sorry
table
about that.
variances. Oh, no problem. There's a problem on this end, I believe.
Yeah.
So we are now at the table of variances. Oh, you're upside down. Not you. So we are now at table of variances, Phoenix Fort Wayne International Harvester, Fort Wayne, 240445. And there is someone online for that, is that correct?
Yes, this is Jamie Tharp with Hable. I was there a month ago.
Okay,
I'm trying to get to you. Evidently, 30 minutes wasn't enough time, and then another 15 minutes or 20 minutes. You guys had technical difficulties, but I am on my way. But because you guys wanted to see a report of what that was and what that number is, and I still, I promised you I'd be back and put it in your hand, and I will be there hopefully in the next 5 to 10 minutes. But that total number is 42,000. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes, so
do you want
you
to,
want to table that
do
until?
you want to
we
wait
get here?
until you're here?
That would be fine. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't wasting your time and was just trying to get through it. But yes, that would be great if I could table it till I can get there. And if that needs to put me to the end of the line, that puts me to the end of the line, sir.
That's fine. We'll just move you and wait on you. I know how traffic can be. So, yeah.
Definitely.
All right.
All right.
I will see you shortly then. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
All right. We can move on to 240452 A and B 10 Greenwood.
Is there anyone here for 240452 10 in Greenwood? This would be their fourth time.
Yeah.
They've already been tabled in May, June, and July. Motion to deny.
Second.
Second.
First and second to deny. All the, we'll call.
Okay. Commissioner Burgess,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Chris. Yes. Commissioner Davidson,
Yes.
Commissioner Height,
Yes.
Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner Patarino,
Yes.
Vice Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Slaughter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner,
Yes.
Commissioner Singer.
This is Tim Callis. We lost your audio again.
Nobody's speaking right now, sir. We're just working on administrative updates. Give us just a second.
Okay.
Okay, next up, we have 240631 Vernon Beachy, New Building, Shipshawana.
Tim Callis, J&T Consulting. We were tabled last month because we had to get a little more research completed on the type of spray foam that was put in the freezer cooler part of the building. So in research, the spray foam and also the polystyrene all comply with the flame spread smoke develop ratings in chapter 26. They're less than 25, less than 300 flame spread. So the issue came down that we didn't have an adequate thermal barrier. So we are adding, they're taking the metal panels off on the interior of the building and adding drywall with one tape coat over the insulation and then reapplying the 26 gauge steel liner panels. In addition to that, we're adding detectors in the freezer cooler area that will be supervised. And also we found as we looked at the plan a little closer, we were adding man doors from the freezer through the cooler and also the wall between the cooler and the process area, because they should have man doors coming out of those areas, because also right now they just had overhead doors. So by adding the drywall, we do meet the little intent of the code to have a thermal barrier to separate the polystyrene and the spray foam from the interior of the building. And also the storage is going to be less than 12 feet, so we don't have high pile storage. And this is just raw pet food that's processed there. And like I said, they'll keep it under 12 feet, so we don't have high pile storage.
Questions?
Exactly. Because last month we were going through this. So, and I think the proponent just went through it, but what changed between what was talked about last month and now?
And did you,
Last
Jim, did you
last
submit anything new?
No, we kind of got this resolute yesterday. We had to discuss with the building commissioner and make sure we were all on the same page involved with the project. And so, no, we did not submit nothing because like I said, we just finalized this yesterday. And actually a little bit this morning as well to get everything put together for what our alternatives are.
So you got the game plan together, you got it approved yesterday with the building commissioner, correct?
Yeah, we discussed this yesterday and this is what we came to. Yes.
And who was that discussed with, Tim?
Jason Boggs at the LaGrange County Building Department.
Are they online by chance?
I'd asked him to be on there. I don't see him listed here.
I'd like to see something
Yes.
in person, you know, or some kind of something that I can actually read
Yeah.
to know what it should be.
Give it a favorable.
Yeah. So.
If
Tim, I guess what I'm asking is, since we don't have anything tangible right here in our hands or able to see, do you want to table this? Because I think there's probably a good chance it would be denied otherwise.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we don't want to get denied. So that would be the only option we have. And I'll try to get something in writing from the building commissioner, like we did last month, to verify everything. And then what we can do is we can have the plan updated to illustrate where the drywall is going and the additional doors we talked about as well.
That would be great.
you also.
Goes to table. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Commissioner Burgess? Yes. Commissioner Cook? Yes. Commissioner Chris? Yes. Commissioner Davidson?
Yes.
Commissioner Height?
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes.
Commissioner Patriano?
Yes.
Vice Chairman?
Yes.
Commissioner Ford?
Yes.
Commissioner Slaughter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor? Yes. On the table.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
240637 A through D project Zodiac was withdrawn by the proponent this morning, about 30 seconds after I printed this agenda.
Okay.
And then, next up, we have 240638 GT Rental Company for
I'm Peter Redmond, from the Redmond Company, here to represent, the application. And I'm a little bit strange here are there questions to be asked or am I to make a presentation?
traditionally, you would start with explaining to the commission what the variance is for, and why you're requesting it.
Okay. The Redmond Company is a 141-year-old family business. We started off as a basket maker there in Denver, Indiana. Then we eventually moved to Peru back in about early 1900s, 1910 or so. We are in a building that was set up for manufacturing of wood products, baskets, and other items. We had 150 people, up to as many as 200 people in the building. There was a real fire hazard down through the center of the building. There's a firewall that separates the woodworking from the painting and the finishing. And since the last 10 years, we no longer manufacture anything. We bring in product, we warehouse it, we ship it out. There's only 12 people in the facility, 6 in the warehouse, 6 in the office. We have a sprinkler system, rather extensive. It's been in there for 5 years or so. But since it's been replaced or augmented by electronic smoke beams and smoke detectors. And the application was to drop the sprinkler system since there's not really the hazard there that there has been at one point. It's costing us approximately an extra $7,000 to $10,000 a year for water that we don't use. This was kind of incidental, but I went back and figured how much have we paid since our last fire, which was in 1948. We've paid over $500,000 for water that we've never used. But this new system is so superior to the sprinkler system. The fire department is only eight blocks away. We have fire department comes and takes the building 3 times a year. Check our fire extinguishers, which we have 38 fire extinguishers throughout the building. There's only 6 people in there, 28 exits on the facility. And the fire department has their own key and a lockbox access to the building. But the building is monitored 24/7 by Guardian Protection with the smoke. I think most of you know that that is so superior to the old sprinkler system. The smoke would have the fire department on scene within just a matter of minutes, whereas it takes that sprinkler system to go off. You have to have a roaring fire. It takes a while to melt the lakes off to where the water comes out. Fire department would be there way before that ever was accessed. So we're requesting I requested to remove it, but I made a mistake there. I think all we want to do is to disconnect it and depend totally on the smoke detecting system, which is, by the way, beams. They go from one end of the building to the other in the ceilings, and then individual detectors where needed. This was all installed by Guardian Protection. I said there's only 6 people in the warehouse, 6 people in the office. And we just don't have the fire hazard that we had at one time.
How large is the structure? Square footage wise?
Beg pardon?
How large is the structure, square footage?
About 90,000 square feet. And like I say, it's divided in half. There's brick wall down through the middle. There's 9 fire doors in that wall. 2 of them actually separate the office from the warehouse.
Do those fire doors get tested? Do those fire doors get tested on an annual basis? Have you had those tested?
The True Fire Department comes through, they take a tour 2 to 3 times a year.
But have they tested those doors to make sure that they actually work the way they're supposed to?
Our maintenance tests, and I don't know that the fire.
That's not the way it's supposed
I
to.
don't know if the fire department ever has.
Well, the fire department would not do that. You'd have to have a third party come in
And
to inspect those.
Right.
Same way with your extinguishers. You talked about the fire department coming in, but realistically, the fire department doesn't typically inspect your fire extinguishers. That'd be a third party company.
Yeah, they come in and test, and look at the tags on them.
Who
Paint,
does that?
fill them, bring them back. Every year.
And who does that?
Fire department, True Fire Department.
Your fire department actually does all your testing on your fire extinguishers?
Yes.
One, I know the fire chief there in Peru sent us a letter. He is, I know you mentioned the fire department is right just a few blocks away, but he is opposed to your variance.
He is.
Yes, he sent us a letter saying he opposes the variance. Oh, and you sir, you can talk and speak if you'd like.
Is Mr. Redmond done?
It's 40 feet. It's a pretty good sized building with a lot of materials still inside it. So I'd like to hear the chief's. Okay.
I'm Robert Dane, Group Fire Chief. Mr. Redmond is correct. Our union has a fire extinguisher business separate from the fire department. We've had it for years. It's our fundraiser for non-profit things, so it helps fund different scholarships and stuff. So we do inspect his fire extinguishers once a year. We do not do fire doors. We do not do the suppression systems or anything like that. And it is totally separate from the fire department. Local 383 owns that business. It's their business. So, about the variance he's requesting, it is almost 96,000 square feet under a metal roof in this building. Old heavy frame construction. I feel the early detection and the early suppression system should remain in place. We're a small department. We're 30 people, 10 people a shift, with 2 on vacation. Normally 8 people is what we show up with. Ladder truck, 2 engines. So when you start taking those numbers out with officers and stuff, I have some aerial maps here. We can show the access to this building around the building. It's pretty difficult to get around. It's not like there's city streets going all the way around the building to where we got paved access around. There's fences that we have to go through. And actually our fire department is the closest station, which is a 3-man station, is 1.2 road miles. And our main station where our ladder truck and our main engine runs out of is 2.2 road miles. Average response time is 4 minutes from station 2, from station 1, 6 minutes. Now also keep in mind, once we get there, we have to have our Knox box key released. We have to enter the building. We have to go to the alarm panel, and then we have to figure out within this building where that actual fire is. And if you've ever been in this building, it's huge, it's compartmentized. It's been added on to several times with different buildings within the property. So it does create those issues. If there is a fire, say it's clear in the back building, not only getting to it, but also getting anybody out of that building if there was somebody trapped inside that building. It is in a remote area of town. It is in a residential neighborhood also. There is residents I can actually butts up to this facility. So a couple other things. We are an ISO 3. So I know he has been paying higher fees for his water. It's the same connectivity fee that everybody within the city of Peru that is on a sprinkler system pays. It's a charge like any utility does to cover the cost of the pressure going into that system and the maintenance of that facility. So like I say, we are an ISO 3, so his insurance rating has been significantly dropped because of that. The utilities, he has talked to utilities. I talked to utilities last month on this. They have offered him different options on how to upgrade his system to go to a smaller diameter line coming in, things of those natures, which would reduce his monthly bill to the utilities. But that comes with the cost. I was an assistant chief for about 6 years, made many calls there as an officer in charge in the middle of the night. He is correct. The beam system does work very well, but there's also a lot of false alarms within that system also. So not saying we get complacent. Nobody ever gets complacent, especially when you get an alarm at a place like that. That's one of the ones that the pucker factor really goes up and you wonder, okay, is this it? With the construction and stuff of these buildings, with it being a metal roof, if we did have a major fire in one of the buildings and it spread to one of the other structures on this property, we're there for days and we're a small department. It would severely hamper any other things that we could do within the realm of things. We're a 30-person department, 10 on a shift. So by the time we would get people there in the surrounding neighborhoods to come and help us from the surrounding cities, a major fire loss could occur, and it would affect not only his business, but it would also affect the neighborhood, plus what we do every day within our infrastructure. We have great water supply. That's how a lot of it, our ISO is a lower rating because they really help us in our ISO rating. We've got our great water department, but you can only put so many apparatus and so many people on a structure of that size, and 96,000 feet is huge. And I would also like to say, I realize he went down from manufacturing 150 employees to 6. In my opinion, one loss of life is no different than 150 loss of life. It's still a loss of life. So what dollar amount do we put on an individual? Not only the people working there, But my firefighters and the responding agencies around us coming to help, what's the price of their life to go in? And I guess to finish up, we have, I don't recall the number of actual sprinkler buildings we have within our town. And I wish I would have brought that. But what stops the next person that's just changing their manufacturing or something just a little bit to maybe a warehouse facility, and they come and say, well, okay, they didn't have to do it at 96,000 square feet, so we don't want to do it at 30,000 square feet. And I think it just creates a domino effect of where we end up. So
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Any questions?
And you're correct. I think, you know, Mr. Edmonds, so when you look at us as a sprinkler system, like you do insurance, you know, you hope you never have to use it, you know, with your insurance. And of course, we say the same thing about fire sprinkler systems is it's there for a reason. We hope it does have to get used, but if it does,
Well,
man, we're sure glad it's.
well, it was used in 1948. And when we were manufacturing it, it was rightly so, because it was the machinery and so forth that we had in there really did. We had fires, small fires, but one big fire in 48. But all that equipment's been taken out. There's none of it in there anymore. Also, there's nothing up against the building on east, west, north, or south. There's no housing, no houses close. Trucks can drive around all sides of the building. There's hydrants on four corners, fire hydrants on the four corners of the building. And we just felt like that cost was just eating us up, actually.
Actually, that's the cost of doing business though.
Yeah.
You know, same way, like I said, with insurance, or having a fire alarm system or having extinguishers, you know, inspected, maintained. There's always that cost. Monitoring a system, there's a cost, just like there is to utilities, gas, electric, that kind of thing. There's always going to be a cost.
And it's required by code,
And it's required by code.
and that's what we're here for.
Well, there's been a lot of good things missed by not asking. And I felt like it was worth it to the company to at least apply for a variance. I truly don't think there's any danger because of what we do. We actually process nothing. We just have.
The product or whatever you process there, is it non-flammable?
Well, it's a flammable product. It's bathroom clothes hampers. That's what some plastic items. They're all imported from New Zealand. And we just they bring them in, store them, tag them, ship them out.
You probably, even the fire chief, you've never been involved in a factory that makes plastic bottles and had a fire in the warehouse. You're not putting it out.
Right.
With all the water in 3 counties.
Yeah.
You know,
But we're not making any, we're not doing any of that. We just comes in a cardboard box and we ship them out.
I'm personally not supportive of this. There's no road around this building that, looking at it online, there's a lot of buildings there, there's a lot of square footage. Got the plastics in there. And I agree, you start setting a dangerous precedent when we start saying, hey, you don't have to use your fire protection system for $7,000 a year, which is the cost of doing business. That's just not that much money. Ultimately, I'm sure the insurance on the claim far more than that in a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I personally, I'm not supportive.
And I can appreciate the fact that you came into that.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Well, I'm not against what you folks do. I understand. Like I said, we gladly paid the bill for all these years for the sprinkler system. And that's why that firewall is down through the middle of the plant, put in specifically to keep the woodworking from the finishing. We did that voluntarily because there was really definitely a need for it. And but when we switched over to the operation that we have now, I just felt like the the smoke detectors are so sensitive and were so superior to the old system.
Smoke detectors are great. Knocked them at all, you know, we tout smoke.
You wouldn't have any
detectors all the time.
problem with me taking that one out, right?
Have to get a variance for that. But, no, I mean, you have those smoke detectors in there. Once they're in there, they have to stay in there. And the sprinkler system shall remain as well. I mean, that's, 46,000 square feet on either side of your wall then roughly. I mean, it's 98,000 or 48,000 square feet on either side, which requires anything over 12,000 square feet and if storage should be sprinkled, so.
Thank you, Chairman. That was going to be my point was I appreciate that he's not manufacturing things anymore. However, a storage occupancy of this size would require a sprinkler system on its own.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, just because you reduce the risk doesn't mean there's not still risk there. So,
there's a complex enough, looking at it online, that it could take some time for firefighters to locate the fire. It would be good to have some kind of suppression already in place.
Then the effect on the community as well, if you have something that large going on.
at the risk of being short, I motion to deny the variance.
Second. Okay, Commissioner Burgess,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Chris,
Yes.
Commissioner Davidson,
Yes.
Commissioner Heidi,
Yes.
Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner Patterson,
Yes.
Vice Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Slaughter,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion has been denied, but thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Okay, fine. Thank you for at least giving me consideration. And I, like I say, appreciate what you all do and thought maybe there was some possibility there, but thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before we start new variances, take a 10-minute break.
we want to circle back to.
Is he here yet?
He's here.
Okay. Yes, sir.
He's out there running around, trying to figure out how to get in.
I was just wondering. You're ready up here.
Yeah, get through him.
Yeah.
10.
We can share on. Thank you.
One, sir.
Yeah, thank you, guys for being late. About 30, 40 minutes was enough for traffic, but all of a sudden my GPS started going crazy and I'm like, oh, no, this is not gonna be good. So, tried to divert and get here and you were having technical difficulties. And I'm like, all right, it's buying me some time, but it's not buying me enough time to get here. Like, doctor, it was not, so I left the house. All right, as you can see there, that price is a little different than what we had thought initially. It's definitely less than what I had stated a month ago, but it's still, you're talking $42,000 just to provide that dual path of communication. We're just putting in an internet system, into that. The current system is compliant with the new NFPA code change that is coming already. So it's already in compliance with it. There still needs to be internet fed into the building. We do not do that. So they would have to get another quote for that. Also, if you see down there towards the bottom, it talks about managed switches. We're not a network company, so we don't deal with managed switches. We did check with a couple vendors that we know. Those switches would be anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 a piece. And there's 5 of them that goes throughout the building to make those connections throughout the building there. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
No, it's basically like 10 grand on top of this.
Yeah, probably about another 10 grand on top of that, yes. That second page gives you a kind of layout of the building there. We thought we'd add that in there for you. That way you can see kind of the size, scope of that monster, so to speak.
So what, I'm catching up on the background. What prompted this? I mean, is this a new building? Is this?
It's a building that was built in 1940, 40 some years ago, 1940s. It's an International Harvester building, original building in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Long before we had sprinklers, long before we had internet, long before we had any of that.
Okay.
So they have a single path communication for the alarm system, but current code says they have to have a dual path. That dual path is through your internet now. So it's the process of trying to get internet feed to the building. It isn't like we can jump at Wi-Fi to Wi-Fi. We got to hardwire that into every panel.
They don't have internet
And the
now?
current, sorry, and the current is what you have currently in there is your cell path?
Yes, Soul Path is the current one that's in there.
But I was just wondering, so what style is that? Is everyone here?
It is not, and I don't know the answer to that, sir.
I didn't know, yeah, because you say you don't have internet now, correct? Is that correct? So are you using cell or are you using plain old telephone system?
Telephone system, yeah. They've got internet to like the admin building, but not to the rest of the building.
Okay.
There's some vendors that are located throughout that building. They have their own internet for their own business purposes, but it doesn't have the internet for the communication, the infrastructure for the building itself.
So I know we had written, we were the ones who wrote it up at one point, because we saw that there was only one path in there. Indiana has made an amendment saying that there has to be two paths in there, so. But I know new fire code, new NFPA would allow one path. But you have a plain old telephone system right now, and I don't know how much longer those systems will continue on. So eventually we'll have to do something.
So what prompted this was a inspection, not like a construction project or something like
That's
that.
correct, yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And when was it installed?
I'm not sure.
So that system's been there forever. Like I said, so, basically our inspector came through and saw that there was this kind of, there's other issues in that building that we are working on as far as fire sprinklers, fire alarms. There's been some storage issues, exiting issues. The buildings, portions of it's had vacant for quite a bit of time.
So if the system was installed was it installed prior to there being a requirement for two paths?
I don't know when the system would have been installed. That building's probably been here since the 40s.
At 1942, I think, 44, somewhere in there.
But so the sprinkler or
So as it's, as we call it, there's been a sprinkler system added because back then there was no.
when was that added?
That I do not know. I work for Havel. I don't work for the Phoenix company. I haven't been in that building.
So the system is more than 50 years.
Yes.
The sprinkler system that's in that building is more than 50 years old. Because that's what we're working on to get some of that replaced as well. The sprinklers inside that building, because
So
there were some areas that were down. They have been working to try and.
But the communication had to be done more recently.
You don't represent the building owner?
I represent the building owner on the purpose of, we are installing the communication part of it, the fire alarm part of that. But as far as, I asked him to be here last month and chose not to. I told him I was coming back down again today and see where we're at. So, how much that?
Bobby shy.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
We've been working for a few years to get some issues resolved. But this is one that's hanging out there because it is code. You require two passes in the state. And granted, the new code That's one path, but, or sole path, but most of those sole paths are gonna be cell or internet. Which gives, the POTS lines are quite.
But I guess what I'm trying to get at is, are we sure that the requirements at the time it was installed required the 2 paths? So then why is he obliged to upgrade to a new code?
We don't know when it was installed. So it may have been installed. I mean, obviously it probably was not installed in the 40s when the building was built. It was installed at some point. Once they install something, it needs to be code. You know, if you're gonna put a sprinkler system in on your own, there's got to be code. If you're gonna put your own fire alarm system.
At the time it's installed.
At the time it's installed.
So if this was installed, say, 1970, 1980, was there a requirement for 2 transmission lines at that time? At that time? Okay.
Come back to the 70s. I'm thinking, right?
We don't know when it was actually installed, but it would require 2 paths today as well. And since, yeah, as far back as we can look at it.
The requirement for 2 paths was done by amendment.
Yeah.
In Indiana.
That required 2 separate, not just two separate lines.
I only ask because it might take a little wind out of the argument that a later addition to NFPA would allow the single path. It was a single path before and the state amended it to require 2. One might think that whatever commission was in place at the time wanted that for a particular reason.
Yeah, I think with the technology that was in the past, more like we always required to have 2 lines in case something happened. You know, plain old telephone system that was down. And there's still, there's issues that can happen with internet and or cell today, but they test them a little bit differently. So you're testing, it's on the hour or cell.
Yeah, pings, yes.
You don't have any documentation when it was installed?
I do not, sir. I can get that information when the original system or the current system was installed. Well, not call it the original because it may have been an upgrade or 2 since then, but the current system.
So, but like I said, so over the years, you chose to install different items in there, which we're looking at today, because the sprinkler system that's in here was failing. So we've had to bring that back up. They're working on that still throughout the areas of that building that are occupied. There's some areas that are still unoccupied. And they've worked with us in some areas because there was some high pot storage and that it made them bring down.
Building in 1984, 83 is when International Harvester left that building in Springfield, Ohio. So that building sat vacant for several years.
It's pretty well common whether it's now or tomorrow.
I mean, that's how I'm looking at it.
Right. It's pretty well common.
Yeah.
So that's, because the old systems, the old phone cable, was what, 4 or 5 feet wide. I just removed all that out of my house and put 52.
Go ahead.
But I mean, whether it's now or 2 months down the road, I went to this. Now, question. The new codes require 1 path, right?
Well,
Indiana adopted the 2 paths, right?
yeah.
Was to prevent Indiana.
Well, there is nothing. So I only bring that up because we've had other people come in here with variances that have been granted. They will allow a sole path as long as it's cellular and or internet and it's being tested the way it is. I know that this has been done, but this is now that's being asked for. You guys are going to keep on playing with telephone system lines and not upgrading. So. That's how it is here.
Conditions.
Exactly. Be kind of neutral in the stance, but the way the new code is coming out, but, you know, it's a plain old telephone system. And I don't know how much longer that those are gonna be supported.
It's coming to an end on landlines.
Right.
I mean, it is.
So, and you guys are repairing the telephone system, is that correct? To make sure that that's what's, you're gonna be able to maintain that? Yes, is what I'm saying.
Yes, we're trying to maintain it. Yes. Yeah.
And then once that fails, or if that ever fails,
You're gonna have to do this.
Correct. Oh, well, I'm just the messenger.
I'm looking at 22,000 is a lot less than what we were speaking of
Correct.
last time. And I granted there could be anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 more.
Right.
So, but that's really not that much of a price to pay, especially if if you update, put the second line in, and then in the future, years ago, your POTS line goes down. Usually come in and get a variance then at that time to say, hey, we don't want to replace that secondary line. Yeah.
This is the.
With motion to deny the variance.
Okay, Commissioner Burgess,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
I'm gonna abstain from this one.
okay, Commissioner Chris.
You read the motion. Can you state the motion again?
It's a motion to deny.
They're gonna have to put the system in place.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, my only thing would be if they're that way and maybe they're just not to confirm. I'd hate to see if this system was put in back to maybe where the discussion was going earlier, if it was put in place when it wasn't required. Yeah, if I went to build it, I'd want to at least go back and check, actually it was put in before and I don't want to do this.
Well, the problem is that it's in there, they install, it's gonna say, it's kind of like a sprinkler system, so if you install it, you're gonna install it the right way.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna just go, hey, we're gonna just install the sprinkler system, we only wanna do it in the kitchen. We don't wanna do it in bedrooms, where.
And, motions to deny. I'll hold that.
Okay, Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner Patrick.
This is a tough one for me too, because it's like setting precedent. And did I hear correctly? I mean, we don't know when the system was put in place, right? I mean, we were talking between 1980s, 1970s, but.
It doesn't sound like it, but I think at least what got me over the hump was the thought behind it going,
They did put it in.
they put it in and they put it in. Oh, I think that,
But could they have put it in prior to the requirement for the dual?
Well, it's just like the sprinkler system there, so some of the sprinkler system had been removed.
Here.
Yeah, so we made.
Okay, yeah, of course you would know that.
Yeah, so we made a repair, put it back in, so we don't know if that secondary line was actually there or removed at some point. I was, wasn't there back in the 70s or
Yeah.
90s. Done. And we can go by as what's there today and what should be.
Okay.
And I wish the owner would have come. Gee,
Right.
yeah, should be here.
Right.
It's his building. He should be here to address this.
I'm gonna say no, only because I understand the situation, but just feels like it's a little bit on the line. I'm just worried about us being south. I'm gonna say no.
Okay, Vice Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Slaughter.
I got the same problem. I'm doing a project right now that has no internet, has no analog, either one. That presents all kinds of problems with fire notification. Has no sprinkler, has no way to get sprinkler. Those things are obviously coming. It's got an elevator in it. How does the phone in the elevator work? No cell service. The analog is gone. So, on that particular project, you get one line of communication and you're doing really good.
But you would go for a variance for that if you needed to, correct? You'll either, if you're redoing it, remodel or new construction, you're gonna come in here for a variance to say, hey, we can't meet this expectation of these requirements. And we're gonna look at each case separately.
I understand.
This is Fort Wayne.
I know. I understand.
Everything available that you can put in. I mean, it's not,
In the city.
yeah, it's in a big city.
Okay, yes.
Okay, Mr. Webber?
Yes.
Here's Aaron. Yes.
All right, so I'll put one with Commissioner Cook abstaining, so that was today.
Yeah, I'll have to install. I'll have to install it.
Yeah, understand.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Have a great day, and I appreciate your time.
Now we, all right, now let's take 10 minutes break. All I grabbed is just ran in there.
Logan, how you been?
I'm good. You doing all right, Lane?
Good or done, Mr. Chairman.
Might be moving on to new variances.
Thank you, Dennis.
Yeah.
All
right.
What sound like the new ones?
What's that?
Number 29.
Yep, energy harness. Deandra Drive.
Oh, I think. All right, moving on to new variances. First up, we have 240729 Energy Harness Science Bill.
This is for a 30,000 square foot warehouse with an 8-floor occupancy. They do not want to provide a fire suppression system.
Do we have a proponent here for 240729 Energy Harness Science Bill? Are they here online?
Yes, Andy Catch is online representing the project. I've also got the architect and the builder online with us this morning.
All right, sir, can you tell us a little bit about your variance and why you're requesting the deviation from the code?
Yes, thank you. And I'd like to thank the commission for hearing our request this morning. The request concerns fire apparatus access road. This was a comment made by Mr. Ballinger in our May CDR review. And as you stated, 8,000 square foot existing building constructed in 1996. It is an office and warehouse facility. The owner desires to expand the building by 3,000 square feet on the south side. It's about a 37% increase in the building area, and that new space will be used for offices. And do I need to, or should I share my screen to review the site plan and some other information? Would that be helpful?
Yes. Okay.
All right, you're able to see the site plan?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This is the building addition here, 3,000 square feet, the existing building. There is a minor expansion to the parking lot. So the concern is the apparatus access around the perimeter of the building. The request was to have the standard 20-foot width access. However, we're limited on that north side to 20 feet. And we have some green space and setback issues to deal with the town as far as paving that. So we did have Marshall Lips with Zionsville suggest that we do request the variance, and paving this would put us in a non-compliance issue with the town, as well as, adding additional expense and time to the project. So we're requesting the variance to not pave this, what is now green space, along the north side of that building, knowing that we've got open access to the entire frontage of the building, as well as dealing with a hardship here in that, we have an existing commercial park, existing building, and the access is just limited to what the existing asphalt pavement is. So if there are any questions from the commission between the three of us, we'll do our best to answer those.
So your variance is just for the access roads. Are you sprinklered? Do you have a fire sprinkler system in your building?
I do not believe so. Dean or James, can you chime in on that and confirm?
Absolutely. It is unsprinkled.
No. And what exactly do you do inside the structure? I don't know what energy harness, what that business is.
They are and Dean, you can add to it, they are a high efficiency LED lighting manufacturer and supplier, but I believe at this location, it's just office and warehousing. Is that correct, Dean?
Yeah, this particular location is mostly office. The materials that they do warehouse are materials that they would send out for warranty type issues. All their manufacturing is done in their Miami, Florida location.
And so you're adding 3,000 square feet on, is that to the office? You're adding more office and warehouse? So what would be the breakdown between the office and the warehouse area? Square footage wise?
James, you might have to calculate that. I don't have it with me.
Yeah. So there are some existing offices within the existing structure, but essentially the just under 3,000 square foot addition will be majority office with a small area of just some general storage. But the existing structure is largely just, storage warehouse. And if you want, I can get you a calculation for the small office area in the existing structure. The existing structure is 8,061 square feet.
James, I just pulled up the floor plan and looking at that with the new office area basically making this L shape. Well, I'm sorry, the new office area is the addition. And then we have this front section of the building that appears to be office. So I would say they're right at 50-50, maybe the warehouse space is maybe 60-40 warehouse and office, but this is estimated off of the floor plan.
What is the height of the building?
The height of the structure is approximately 16 foot 8 inches, and it does have a parapet cap that juts up a couple feet higher than that. But essentially right around 17 foot is the actual building height.
So you don't have any high storage inside, correct? Nothing over 12 feet?
I don't believe so.
And access wise, I'm sorry, I know I saw your map a minute ago, but how many sides are you able to get around? Is it just the one side that you can?
The front side, is the site plan back up now? Am I sharing that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. It's fully accessible from the front side off of the cul-de-sac. The pavement ends at this location, and they're putting in this new sidewalk for emergency ingress egress here. But apparatus would be able to make it to the end of the parking lot here. And then the depth of the building is 100 feet. We got a 20-foot parking stall, 5-foot walk, 5-foot green space between the walk and the building. So the apparatus would get to this point and then be able to pull the hose. 150 feet would get them roughly to the back of the new addition. And then the apparatus would be able to pull into this. This dock is at grade. This is a recessed dock, but the apparatus would be able to pull into this dock area or pull into the area in front of the recessed dock, and then pull the hose distance along the north side of the building, roughly into this area. So there's just a portion of the back where 150 feet around the south, 150 feet around the north, there's a gap area in the back that's prompted the reviewer to request this basically perimeter access road on an existing site where this just wasn't something that was planned for, in 96 when the building was originally constructed.
Question, where's the nearest hydrant? Has anybody researched that?
Yeah, so let me share a different screen here.
Cranking out 150 feet, just get to the back of the parking lot. How much they gonna have to lay down to get water to the truck when they start? If it's a tanker truck, when they start running low.
Yeah, so they have to have 100, they have to do within 150 feet access. I don't know how far they don't have
Yeah.
at the end, or they don't quite meet. But it is reasonably building. Yeah, so it'd be different if it was 2 or 3 stories.
So if I'm sharing my screen for the GIS for Boone County, you can see the property in question here.
Yeah.
Here's the cul-de-sac, and like I say, this is an existing commercial park. This building was built in 96. Looks like they still have one lot to develop. We have this detention area here just to the south and east, but I don't think it's accessible for a water reservoir. We have a larger detention pond that's roughly 2/3 the distance to the main street, which is 106. And then the fire main is on 116th Street with the hydrant located at the northwest corner of the intersection of 106 and Deandra. So that is the closest hydrant for any of these structures, which we have much larger structures around us that are operating under the same scenario for fire service.
I'm sorry, how far was that hydrant from the structure?
We're almost 700 feet to the detention pond, and then from the cul-de-sac, bear with me here, the cul-de-sac to 116th Street is 1,100. So I believe that's within the 1,500 feet of the 4-inch hose play, if I'm thinking correctly on that.
Well, realistically, if your building's not sprinkled, there should be a hydrant within 400 feet.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And there's at this time, no plans or budget to install a water main 1,100 feet down Deandra to allow for sprinkler connections for any of these properties.
Wow.
If that was the question, I didn't mean to lead anyone to believe that we were installing a fire main on Deandra.
No,
Okay,
that was just our question to see how far a hydrant was from your structure.
understood.
So you're saying roughly 1,100 feet from the structure.
If on pavement, I'll need to check, but it's likely that there's hydrants to the east, and then we have the residential neighborhood to the north. But yeah, reasonably accessed hydrant on hard surface would be directly south on Deandra to 106th Street.
I bet you that retention, the bigger pond has a pickup built into that to hook up to. I mean, that makes common sense, doesn't it?
I think that was the plan.
Chairman, this is Josh Frost from Zionsville Fire Department, if I could.
Yeah.
The closest hydrant is 1,700 feet away. And there's not a dry hydrant in that pond, and it is not suitable for drafting. The depth is an issue, and the maintenance of that pond has been an issue. It's purely for drainage control. So we would take exception to that. I was hoping that the variance would also include the hydrant because it was cited during their plan review that it was not hydrated. A 3,000 square foot addition to this building is significant,
taking it from roughly 8,000 square feet to almost 12,000 square feet. It is under the 12,000 mark for the sprinkler requirement for its use. However, it is bringing it further into non-compliance.
I can get this thing. Okay, I think I got it quieted.
So that particular hydrant there is.
Well, I guess
actually-
not. Hang on a second.
Just a second. Chief Frost,
Oh, okay. All righty. Yeah, I'll take a look at it and go from there.
sir,
Rodney, will you
Okay.
mute?
we know who's talking.
Yeah, Rodney.
Okay, sounds good. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, can you mute yourself? And then Chief Frost?
I muted him, so I'm sorry. But the closest hydrant again is 1,700 feet away from the building. This brings the building further into non-compliance to not, at least at a minimum, provide the access drive. We don't dispute the hardship of extending a main 1,100 plus feet for a hydrant, but the hardship of additional asphalt surface and working through the town requirements to encroach on the property line, I think is not unreasonable considering the fact that a significant part of the space is going to be occupied as office space.
And Marshall Cross, this is
Do
the
anything here.
hydrant, you know,
There's the easement. So you can't put a road on there.
Chairman, I'm even looking, I was looking at Google Maps and I'm looking at their application here and, you know, it throws out that option, right, of paving the north side. And they talk about existing grades and drainage, maybe not working, but I'm looking at the Google map and I'm like, in the picture, the elevation, I'm like, it doesn't look like there's sloping or drainage issue there. I would be in agreement that paved road on the north side is necessary.
Correct.
Yeah.
Especially without having a hydrant there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a long way. You only carry over
Yeah.
1,000 square, or 1,000 feet of hose.
Yeah, so these guys just have to work through with the town of Zionsville.
Yeah.
You can
On
see
that.
here, I've got the GIS pulled up. This is the closest hydrant proximate to the structure. And it, to the center of the cul-de-sac is 1510, and to the building, we'll be looking at 1,700 feet.
Wow, that's,
It's a significant delay.
yeah, so, yeah, so I mean, realistically, they should have hydrant within 400 feet since it's not a sprinkler building.
And the new construction should meet the requirements.
Frost, can you point out the hydrant again?
I'd like to be able to have access over there. I know I like having access over there on the structure, especially in that kind of situation.
Yeah. If not to cut them short, but I would make a motion to do that.
The proponent asked about the hydrant location. It's on the south side of 106th Street, just west of DeAndre Drive, in between Andrade and DeAndre.
Am I sharing my screen?
No, I am right now.
Could you pass that back to me, please?
So Josh,
Yes.
you've been working with the city. I mean, is there something gonna happen soon? Within the next 4 or 5 years? I mean.
There's not a plan to, as the proponent had mentioned, there's only one buildable lot that's there. And so right now, there is not a plan for the city to add that water. In the past, the proponents for other projects extended water to support their projects, which I would say is typical. But I understand the relationship between a 3,000 square foot addition and 1,100 feet of offsite improvements is a challenge that we don't dispute. But the alternative that could be offered is better fire department access. We do have some things that could be discussed and looked at to add fire alarm, to add the emergency access drive. None of those things have been proposed to date.
But I mean, this is just me thinking, with the amount of growth, Zionsville and a lot of the areas up there, around there are going through, I mean, is somebody looking at the infrastructure to get it
For
up?
For newly developed areas, yes, but for a heavily industrialized area that's already developed, if I could show again that it's right up against the county line, on the east side, the east property line actually for this parcel is the county line. And then to the west already has several of these, office in the front, warehouse in the back, B occupancies that are already constructed and have been there for 30 plus years. So it's not likely that, unless there's a redevelopment, it's not likely that we will get some of that infrastructure expansion to the existing area.
Thank you. And that's probably be another day, another variance when they start to build this, because well, you have a hydrant within 400 feet since they're not sprinkled, but we're not there right now. So this goes to smart land. There's been a motion to deny this so far. Is there a second?
Second.
The first and second to deny?
Okay, Commissioner Burgess,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Chris,
Yes.
Commissioner Davidson,
No.
okay, Commissioner Height,
Yes.
Commissioner Murray,
Yes.
Commissioner Catarino,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
I'm going to vote yes, but I will note that Mr. Andy Cash does have his hand raised, so I don't know if he had something else to say.
Gentlemen, I've made several attempts to interject, and I realize this is some of the inconvenience dealing with the online meeting, so I apologize, but bear with me. If you would hear a couple statements, I would appreciate it.
We have a motion, we're in the middle of the vote. Continue.
Well, there's been I think that we've had discussion. There's been a motion on the floor and we've had a vote. I think we completed that vote as well.
No, we're in the middle of the vote.
No, we're in the middle.
Yes. Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Slaughter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner,
Yes.
Commissioner Singer.
Yes.
That one carried.
I don't think we need to. I mean, the motion was there to say that we're going to deny.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we need to hear anything further on that discussion. But the hydrant is a separate issue once they start to build, because I think that should be written out at that time.
All right, so that one is denied. Next variance is 240730 Premier Ave, Campbellsburg. Okay, this one is the H4 occupancy, 30,000 square feet building. They do not want to sprinkle the building. So let's-
Melissa Tupper, RTM Consultants. So the variance request is to not sprinkler the H4 portion of the building. The S1 portion is below 12,000 square feet. We divided the building with a 3-hour fire barrier to reduce the fire area. These are all agricultural chemicals. They're health hazards, not flammable or combustible. We've had similar variances approved in the past to not sprinkler H4 occupancies due to lack of fire hazard. And we had a variance granted on an identical facility for Premier Ag a couple of years ago for this exact same setup out in Shelbyville. It's in a rural area, as most of these agricultural facilities are that provide product, co-ops and similar facilities. So getting water to the building for this is just, there's not water available.
How close
Rural,
is
and
the,
sorry, go ahead.
how close is the closest community to this?
Community?
Yeah, addition, neighborhood.
This is Chris Lazier, where I'm the general contractor for the project for Premier Ag, and this basically is in a rural area, like Melissa was saying. We're not anywhere near any kind of developments. There's not even a residence probably within a half mile of this location. And Campbellsburg is probably a little town of maybe a couple hundred people at best.
And we've got lots of,
There's a bar, there's nothing around it.
There's nothing.
there's lots of distance around the buildings. There's no buildings. The buildings aren't close together. They're all spread out. And it is a non-combustible building.
If memory serves me right, the fire department's right downtown in that community, right?
On there.
Let's say the situation, how we're probably gonna burn.
Yeah.
Well, we're not gonna want to,
The off gassing,
we're gonna want to let that burn rather than,
stand up oil.
well.
There's just gonna be employees driving in with equipment to get some of the product, but there's no desk, right? No, nobody's gonna be in there sitting at the desk all day.
Correct. There's another office building on the site. This is just for storage of materials.
You say the building itself is 11,000 square feet with a 3-hour fire barrier within that structure?
Yeah, so if you look on the drawing, it approximately cuts the building in half.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what we did on the other property, was divided it up with the 3-hour fire barrier.
Yeah.
If you look at the drawing, there's 4 exits out of the H occupancy side. Again, not normally occupied, except for when they're, getting material or putting material away.
Is there any kind of early warning for anybody off-site to know that something's going on there? Because I imagine it's not 24 hours, correct? I'm on foot.
No, it's not a 24-hour operation.
I just didn't know if you had something there on site that notifies manager, district manager, owner that you have an incident going on.
Yeah,
We
we
did
don't,
not-
go ahead, Melissa.
We didn't have one proposed. I don't know if they were doing one optionally or not.
Yeah, at this time, I don't think we are.
The suppression system is required. I just didn't know if you wanted to put something in there to early notification for the people that do live around there, so that, or the fire department's there as well, to let them know that there's an issue in the building. Although we're probably not going to send anybody inside, but must keep know.
Melissa, you said a previous variance for identical circumstances was granted on another site. Is that right?
Yes.
Were there any conditions on that variance?
No, it was identical to this one. It's 180647.
It was granted as submitted.
Yes. And
Is it the same?
the whole argument is that, it's a health hazard. There's not a fire hazard with the materials. I personally go through all the MSDS sheets to review all of everything that's being stored and classify everything.
It's a lot of stuff.
Melissa,
There
is it the same materials as the other building, or is it different materials?
Pretty identical. I think maybe had a few different materials, but I mean, we had probably there were maybe 15 to 20 different materials that were stored in this one that weren't stored in the other one. But again, we went through all the MSDS sheets to classify those. There were probably 50 different products at least that we went through.
Their local fire department is where?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
I know you guys said there was a local fire department. They're made aware of this as well as the other, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm okay making a motion, but I like the ifs there. There's always will be something changes. I'm going forward. I'm back in front for make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's. Yeah, as an age, business of age, small enough, it wouldn't be sprinklered. Wouldn't have to be sprinkled, except the fact that it has an age.
It's an H4, as my understanding, which is limited to corrosives, toxic materials.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're gonna be able to store explosives in it without a change of occupancy.
Kerosene fertilizer. So, like that, so I'm okay making a motion to approve.
Is that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay.
And the first and second to approve.
Okay.
Commissioner Bruce?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Davidson?
Yes.
Commissioner Heights?
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes.
Farina?
Yes.
Vice Chairman?
Yes.
Reporter?
Yes.
Commissioner Slaughter?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Singer?
Yes. Hey, I've got a question for Melissa before we move on. Melissa,
Yes.
check your safety data sheets. They're SDSs now. I mean, you may be used to saying MSDSs.
Yes, they're SDS. I'm old school. MSDS is what
I'm getting concerned because if you had MSDSs, I'm gonna say, oh, no. Okay,
Well,
thank you.
I just get stuck with the old school terminology.
It's that ocean thing in me, just,
Yes, they're SDSs now. I just been doing it for 20 years, so I'm stuck with the original.
I'm back. Well, thank you. A motion has been approved.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome.
okay, it says MSDS is my radar.
All right, next up, we have 240731 Old Sheriff's House and Jail, Crown Point.
Is anyone here or online for Old Sheriff's House and Jail?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm here, Dennis Bradshaw Consulting.
Hi.
So this is a request for jail to not comply with the chapter 34 nor meet current code.
And the reason it was referred to the commission is because the use has changed. And they're saying that the new use will not meet the structural or gravity and lateral load.
Yeah.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
great.
ma'am. Hang on one second. We're just having Department of Homeland review this with us first.
Sure.
Is that all, Denise, or?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Dennis Bradshaw.
He's online.
Yeah,
He's on there as well.
Dennis is there.
That was the owner, is who I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason it was referred to.
Oh, hold on one second, Dennis.
The reason it was referred to the commission is the previous use was an old sheriff house and they're converting it into a museum. But they're saying that the new use will not meet the gravity or the lateral load requirements of the new code. So we refer to it.
Bradshaw, you can go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'll try to explain what's going on here with this. This is the old Lake County Jail and Sheriff's House, originally built in 1882. The original Sheriff's House and the original jail. It was then added on to cells and so forth in 1908. I believe it was some kitchen office space there added on to the original 1882 building. And then again, it was added on the third time in 1928. So we're dealing with a very, very old structure. To quickly kind of cover the structural issue, we've had extensive meetings with the structural engineer and everyone. Because the structure is so old, it does not meet modern design criteria whatsoever. And there is really no way that we can modify it to bring it up to modern standards for like assembly use. It's clearly not going to handle that kind of a floor loading. So our approach to this is that the foundation that runs the museum part of it, that's very restrictive as to who they bring in. They bring in small groups only. They're not large groups. It's not open in general to the public. It's by appointment only, scheduled only. So they control the people going into it at any one point in time. And I've talked with the engineer and he's comfortable. He says that the floor loading can handle a 50 square feet per person floor load. He's comfortable with that. Going beyond that, it would just be very difficult to do anything more than that without completely rebuilding it, which destroys the historical character of the building. And in reality, the foundation doesn't want to put larger groups of people in this building anyway. That's not their goal, in point here, is to have a very small groups and have it a very intimate sort of museum experience there. So what we're proposing with this variance is to keep the occupant load below 50 people in any place in the building. Structural engineers, that we're comfortable with that, sort of floor loading. So structurally, we're going to be within a safe range. The idea is most people assume a museum as being an assembly use. This is, well, one, the sheriff's house is very small rooms and so forth. So we wouldn't have any area that we could even put large groups of people in. And based on the way the foundation operates, they take small groups anyway. They're very small, way under 50. They're, in fact, we're probably under 30 in most cases. So what we're proposing is to ask that the building be at least classified as a B occupancy, reduce the occupant load, keep it below 50. We'll post signs, and all that, and allow that to be used for a museum. We're not going to rent it out. We're not going to make it a venue or anything like that. The foundation is going to control, what happens in that. They do have some special events. They have a what they call a haunted house sort of thing, a haunted jail sort of thing. It's very limited occupant load at any one time in that space. They've been running that for a number of years. We spoke with the both the building officials and the fire officials about it. They're comfortable with the way they've been running it. It's been complying with the code for that type of a use. Obviously, that's just an annual thing. They have 2 fundraisers, which are ticket only, and they'll have a limited number of tickets. It's 30 people They do a fundraiser in one time a year, and then there's like an art show, and again, that's 30 people there. So again, they're keeping those occupant loads under the 50, well underneath the 50 there. They're providing smoke detection throughout the space, fire extinguishers, we're providing exit signs, we're providing emergency lighting, trying to do everything we can to make this safe for at least the people that are coming into it. People are always guided tours. There's always the foundation volunteers that guided tours through this facility. So they're always going to be, no one's going to be wandering around in this place. They're going to know how to get out and so forth. The jail portion is all non-combustible construction, and there's very little fire load at all in that. So the part is fairly safe in that respect. The sheriff's house is essentially 2-story. The jail was actually 3 stories. They only do the tours in the jail, or the jail tours are only on the first and second part of the second floor. They don't do the third floor at all. Their main goal is to try to restore the building. Basically, at this point, they're wanting to try to preserve this building so that future generations can at least be able to enjoy it. If anybody has any questions, we have Sandy Boyd, the president, online with us here today, that she can maybe answer any specific questions as far as the operation goes.
I'm looking at the chapter 34 evaluation. I understand it, but in the back of my mind, I'm just thinking to myself, there are probably certain things that could be done here to increase that score.
Well, I can explain to you on that, and it's pretty easy. Where it fails the most is obviously it is a large non-compartmentalized building. The jail is, that's the nature of how it was designed. They wanted it open and so forth, so that they can do their stairs are open 3 levels. There's no compartmentation. There's obviously not rated quarters in this jail portion. And I played around with this, chapter 34 as far as the things. I could even go in and sprinkle this thing and it wouldn't pass through there. We literally have to chop up the building, put in a number of fire barriers, and that would destroy the historical character of the building. Plus, then we'd have to enclose stairways, within the jail. That again would destroy the character and all those things that we tried to plug in. And I know that I've done that part to try to plug in to see if we can make it work some way by adding certain things. And unfortunately, chapter 34 is very it's not very good for B occupancies, to be honest with you. It really kind of doesn't give B occupancies any favors at all when you go through it. And a number of people have been to the commission before about scoring out B occupancies, and for some reason it just doesn't want to allow those to change. But we tried to do as much as we can without destroying the historical part. So we're trying to work between historical limitations and the code and make it as safe. And the best we can do is do what we've proposed to add and limit that occupant load, so we don't have a lot of people in there at one time.
Just to kind of follow up with that a little bit, in that, because I understand that, I read the write-ups on it and appreciate the history of it, but there's 50 people in there, and if there's an issue, there is a very big life safety issue here. And it just seems to me that on the one hand to say, hey, we don't want to destroy the historical character of the building and not propose something that at least helps us say, okay, they're working towards it. Just say, hey, I don't want to do anything. Just seems to me to be the wrong approach, just me personally. Like, for instance, as I understand that there's like no fire alarm system in here. No,
Yes, there is a fire alarm system.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, there's a full fire alarm system in this. Or I should say will be. I believe Sandy said that they're in the process of doing that. So it will have a full fire alarm system. It will have emergency lighting.
Yeah, they're gonna add a fire alarm system, whistle blower protection, emergency lighting and exit signs, and then fire extinguishers.
On your first floor plan, it only shows, to me, it looks like one way in and out. Is that it?
There
One
should
door?
be 2 ways out. I believe on the there is a extra there is a door that will be to the
Out of the kitchen?
north here. So they do have 2 exits out.
3.
They are toward the front.
Oh, I see. The third one.
The ones for
Left end of the building.
the house, so.
There needs to be a little part there.
What is the length of this building? Can you tell us that of all the additions?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I do not. It spans the depth of a block, really. It's a long building. Definitely. I don't know that exact dimension. Sandy, do you know that?
I don't have the numbers, no.
Okay.
That's the only concern. You got people back here getting out.
Now,
yeah.
So is each floor 10,759 square feet? That's what this states. The area per floor is 10,759 square feet on each floor. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So there's three floors, and it's over 31,000 square feet total. Okay.
Right. Right. That's what hurts us badly in the chapter 34. And unfortunately, there isn't a lot we can do with that without hurting our historical aspect.
Yeah.
Now, I will mention
you have a maximum travel distance of 188 feet. I suppose.
Right. Our travel distance is all right. We would the one plan that you see about how the tours are going, the path of the tours, that one that goes far to the back, that is taking people back to John Dillinger's cell back there. That happens to be where his cell was, and everyone wants to go to see that particular cell. The groups that will be back there, Sandy can talk to that. We're not having a large group of people at all going back on that tour. I don't know if you can explain to them, Sandy, as far as the sizes of the tours and the groups and how that's handled.
yeah, we are open 1 day a week for regular history tours. Those groups are anywhere from 2 to 8 people typically, and they are guided tours. We go through the building, taking them to 2 different areas in the building and then back up to the house. And I will say that the jail itself, there's really nothing in there, just the steel and metal beds that were originally there from the inmates. The walls are 3 brick thick, and the rest of the construction is cement and steel. We don't have any artifacts or museum pieces in the jail itself. That is all contained within the house. And the tours, like I said, we're open 1 day a week for historical tours. And then our ghost hunts that we run, they are also guided tours. The groups are usually about 10 to 12 people. And we are in the building and on the property the entire time that we are doing any of those tours. I've been there 14 years now doing tours, and I've been the president for the last 4. We've run our haunted house for 11 years now without any incidents. We get our regular permits every year for the haunted house. Those are inspected by state and local fire marshals. The haunted house, again, we only allow groups of 6 to 8 in at a time, and there are maybe 20 of us spread out through the first floor while that haunted house is going on. And that is mainly props and people. And they go through, it's approximately a 10-minute walk through haunted house. And then they're back out on the main street. We're a 501c3 non-for-profit. We are a Restoration Preservation Foundation. And just within the last month, we have added all new electric to the 3rd floor and installed security lights in both of those cell blocks. And we move cell block to cell block with continuing restoration. We just restored the 1908 front porch on the building with new supports and lifted it up where it should be. We have done so much restoration over the past years to bring it up to the highest safety level that we can. And we do monitor the building all the time, but for the most part, the building is only open to the public maybe 3 days a week, unless we are doing a special event, which, like Dennis said, is a ticketed event. 30 ticket max is our sale. But as a non-for-profit, that is how we fund our restoration. So in doing the tours and different events, that is how we make money to keep the restoration going. We did replace the entire boiler system for the radiator heat. That is the original heat in there. So we're continually working on restoration. It's not as though we would get a variance and stop. Because our goal as a foundation is to continue that mission of restoring the entire building.
And there would be no way to put an exit on the, towards the east side, southeast side on the lawn area, just so you don't have such a long 188 feet.
There is always an opportunity that we could make one of the barred windows able to open and have maybe like a ladder system that went down. And I don't think that would destroy the historical value of the building. And then on the 2nd floor, there used to be a wooden bridge that connected to the building next door, which was the criminal courts building. That door is still there. We could open that door and add a full fire escape down to the alley. And I don't think that would destroy the historical value of the building either, because the door already exists.
Yeah.
Even though the bridge is
part
going.
of the problem is that when you get to the long, I guess let's say the east end of that building, it literally goes all the way to the sidewalk. So there's no yard space or anything to put like an exterior stair or anything on that building. So if a stair were to be added at that long east end of the building, it would have to happen inside the building exterior walls somehow, and that's where the difficulty. Yeah.
We do have an option though of opening that back wall of the jail, because there is a firewall there before you get to the garage on the back.
Right.
We would have an opportunity to open that brick and have that exit into the jail, or into the garage, which exits onto East Street.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on Google Maps, and so I'm looking at this lawn area on the south side, and I see the window right there, and then I'm looking back at the plan, I see your stair, and it just seems to me that, the exiting, at least it would help, at least for me personally.
Sure.
Just know, because I hear the small groups and I think everything you're doing there is great. And I have this image in my mind of power going out and something happening in there and you're hot and you can't find your way out, right? Because
that's why we're installing
even with exit signs, right? Even with exit signs, it's a long path out if there's a fire in there.
Yes.
And it just seems
That's
like
why
a disconnect.
that's why they're all guided tours.
They can
Nobody
still
is
get-
roaming around alone.
Yeah, no, I understand, but if something, again, if power went out, all of a sudden there was smoke in there, even with a guided tour, like if I was a volunteer to be one of those people, I might not be able to find my way out. It just seems to me that this needs some type of exit towards the east end of the building, and maybe near where those stairs are. And it could be something that comes out, I hate to say it, that comes out, you know, those windows get opened up for doors and there's, you know, steel, you know, emergency exit on the outside of the building, something, anything that would help here.
So Sandy,
Hey,
so Sandy,
Dennis,
do you feel like we could add that extra exit as you talked about going down through the the old garage space? I know where you're talking about. I didn't know if that was something that could be opened back up and provided as an exit. There's already a door going to the north, isn't there?
Yes.
Okay.
The door south, and I see the alley.
Excuse me?
I said I see the alley on Google Maps. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm just kind of talking out loud, just trying to figure out.
I'd like to ask a few questions. One, is there any sort of life safety plan for this building that shows exit, egress, and yeah.
You mean within the building?
For the new use that you're going to use it for, do you have an emergency action plan or a, you know, egress plan that shows, you know, what, like how you're going to get people out and the distances to egress from where people are going to be located?
We do have like drawn maps within the building, what to do in case that they would have to get out quickly, showing where exits are.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I
that
did not include that in the submittal. Say it did not have those available to me.
okay. And then are you planning or have you used this for private events?
No.
Okay. The website
Yeah,
seems
no,
to,
that's not the intent at all, is to not have, they won't have any private events. Everything that they will do will be run by the foundation.
okay.
Yeah, we do have.
Sandy, please.
I'm sorry. I was going to say we don't rent it out and then leave. Any events that we do there are to benefit the foundation as a fundraiser. So we're not looking to change anything that we have done over the past 20 years already, as far as our regular historic tours, our little ghost hunts that we do, and our, you know, just regular day-to-day running. We've been doing this for 20 some years now. The haunted house only for 11. But we're not really looking to change anything that we've already adapted for safety purposes for us. We are all volunteers. None of us get paid to be there. We understand the responsibility to the public, to the community, and to ourselves also, as far as liability. The last thing we would want to see is to create a situation where anybody could get hurt in any way, including ourselves. We're doing constant evaluation on the building and repairs needed, structural repairs, any kind of repairs needed. There's constant work going on in the jail. Anything that's structural, of course, we address that first before making things pretty. But yeah, we always address structural issues as they come up, and we're constantly looking for those things. And we are not opposed to making changes for safety, as long as they don't disturb the historic value of the building. We are on Indiana landmarks. We're on the National Historic Registry. We are a huge part of our community. We were front page of the newspaper and the Post Tribune yesterday, awaiting this decision today.
So again, the reason that you're here is because you're changing the use officially.
Well, yeah, officially.
Correct.
I guess the state still has us listed as a jail and we're a museum.
Right.
Yeah, what had really happened is that apparently there was never any official documentation about the change of use over the years. And then recently we had an inspector come through and say, hey, this is a change of use. We don't see any documentation showing you ever had a change of use. And has spurred all of this.
Right.
So,
Mr. Cook has a couple questions.
yeah, so thank you, Dennis, for clarifying that. So, I'm going to try to explain my understanding and you correct me if I'm wrong. You've been using this space illegally, and that's a harsh word, but I mean, I think it's factual that you've been using the space illegally as for tours and private events that you host or that you rent out the space for. And now you're trying to correct that and do it the legal way by doing a change of use. Now that you're doing a change of use, you attempted to do a change of use through Chapter 34, which you weren't able to pass. And so then you're coming to us with a variance to legally do the change of use with certain upgrades. And right now, the only upgrade that we're seeing is the structural upgrade and smoke detection systems. Is that correct, Dennis?
That's essentially right. And along with that, we're proposing this restricted occupant load because of the fact that every space is not going to be loaded like the code would assume it to be.
Okay. And I think what's missing in your application right now is we understand the restricted occupant load. We understand a couple of the other things you're asking, but it seems your application seems to fall short of providing all the information about the life safety aspects of how you're going to use the existing space with like travel distances, with what areas need to be retrofitted structurally, what those systems are. And so, I mean, my opinion is that your application's incomplete. We see where you're going, but there's not enough information for me to personally be agreeable to your variance.
Okay, I will kind of back up on the structural part of it. Currently, there are no modifications structurally needed to achieve where they want to be. Basically, the structural engineer said this is what it is now. Now, I'm sure over time there has been restoration, and as Cindy had pointed out, there's been repairs and modifications made as they've done their
repairs, restoration.
Will be.
Anyway, that 50 square feet per person is where it's at now.
Yeah, but again, like your application doesn't have enough backup to substantiate the conclusion that the floors can take 50 pounds per square foot. I mean, even in Scott's letter, he says we will do upgrades to make it that, but where are those at? I think there's just a lack of information in the application to get us to a point or get me to a point where I'm agreeable to the variance. That's not to say you couldn't come back and provide additional information. And Sandy, I acknowledge and I support the idea that this is a historic building on the National Register that needs to be saved. But now you're doing it through a legal way of doing it by doing an actual change of use, which arguably should have been done before you had tours or haunted houses. And we appreciate you doing that, but let's get all the ducks in a row. Let's get all the information.
The
Would
jail
more
shut down.
information from the structural, Scott Jones, would more information from him be something you would want to see?
I mean, I'll speak for what I think is missing. I think that and you might have already done this because I know you're taking care of the building, some kind of structural evaluation of, you know, the conditions of the building and where they'll need to be, you know, some kind of attestment that structural calculations have been done of the existing structure to know that it can support 50 pounds per square foot. I think there's a life safety plan missing of where the exits are, how far the travel distance are, where are areas that are going to be restricted to people gaining access, and how are you going to restrict those people from gaining access?
Yeah, I'm hung up on the 188 feet.
But I don't even know where that is because it's not even shown in the plans specifically, explicit.
Stairs, railings, I mean, there's a lot of exiting, like
Emergency
safety
illumination.
issues. Yeah, where's the illumination for the exit lighting? Where's, you know, all of that kind of stuff is,
Okay.
I agree, needs to be presented so we can see it all.
And this may be things that Sandy, you've already done and have, it's just not in the application in front of us for us to make a educated opinion about it.
Okay. Well, it sounds like something that I'm sure, I mean, I know the structural part of it. I do know that Scott has done extensive structural evaluation on the building. I just don't have that, you know, dimension at this point, but I could get that to where you would have that information. Life safety plan, I'm sure that can be, you know, generated for you also to show those items that, you know, you mentioned. So, yeah, if you would like, I mean, we could table it and I could provide that information for you so that you have a clear indication.
Yeah, because it sounds like you have it mostly figured out, but again, it's not presented in a explicit way in the application.
Sure, I understand. Yeah, I don't know about the life safety plan. I don't know that if that exists from RC, you know, RC or not, but I can find out. If not, I'm sure that's something that can be easily generated for you.
Yeah, and those have to be done since it's considered, I mean, I know you want to change to a B, but with the haunted house, it would be an A. Yeah. So you're required to have.
Well, that's the thing is if it's a haunted house, you know, I look at the code and code talks about, you know, small spaces and so forth that would have under the 50 people would not necessarily be an A. And from what I been given information from, you know, Sandy, that even when they run the haunted house, those are just small groups going through it each time. So I mean, this is not an assembly, I guess, is the thing.
Yeah, well, it's been run as an assembly, as Mr. Cook was saying, so it's kind of been illegal. But if you're wanting to change it to a B now, but it's been run as assembly, and realistically, the occupant load on each floor would be way over. As far as an assembly goes, would be way over.
I guess I'm not sure if I follow you on
10,000 square feet per floor divided by 5 if they're standing walking through. You know, that's just insane.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just a lack of information for us to take an action towards approval of the variance right now. So to Dennis, if you're agreeable to that, my motion would be to table it.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like that's the best thing to do at this point, Sandy, is to table it, provide them with the information so they can make a clear decision as opposed to not granting the variance.
And Sandy, Dennis, your local fire department, it'd be nice to have some input from them. You know?
Absolutely. We are completely supported by the mayor, the fire, but yes, I understand.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that in your application paper, but yeah, it'd be nice to have a letter from you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are they allowed to do continuing operations normal until we
I would
decide?
I mean, I would say no, because we just don't know. I mean,
Are they doing, I guess I should, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Are they in operation now?
They are in operation now. They have been for 20 years.
Well,
You know,
well, no.
nothing were to happen in there.
You got October coming up quickly.
I know.
Yes.
It's like they're doing what they did weddings.
I mean, the black and white answer is that if you haven't had an approved change of use, you're not permitted to use it for the use that hasn't been approved, right? So that's the black and white. And the irony is not lost on me that we're talking about a jail here, but that's the black and white legal answer. Right?
The state fire marshal did say we could stay open for regular tours right now until a decision was made. I did get that in writing through our lawyer.
Okay.
So as far as regular historical tours, we've been told that we can continue to run those until the final decision from the fire commission. And also, is it possible to just jump right on September's agenda for this meeting if it's tabled today?
Yeah, Dennis can work with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that we are able to provide you with what you're looking for, the information on the life safety plan and all the information on that. And I'll attempt to get more information from Scott Jones on the structural. I know that there was a full structural evaluation done a number of years ago when
I have that, Dennis. I have that.
Okay.
All the structural reports from our say
Okay.
engineering.
I know it, Scott had talked to me years ago about that when there was, I think that was when one of the movie things were going on. So,
Yeah, when Universal Studios filmed.
yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
All
So
right.
we have 2 seconds to table.
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Burgess,
Yes.
Commissioner Doe,
Yes.
Commissioner Chris,
Yes.
Commissioner Davidson,
Yes.
Commissioner Height,
Yes.
Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Vice Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Slaughter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner.
Yes.
Commissioner Sanders.
Yes.
All right, that one's tabled. Next up, we have 240732 Publisher's House condominiums for planning.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So what's wrong
Thank
with
you.
Fort Wayne? They don't know how to build?
Who's presenting this, you guys?
This, basically, they want to not provide a ramp for the handicap accessibility requirement.
This is an existing house and they are converting it into 6 individual residents. And like Tony said, they're not wanting to provide a ramp to the house.
Yeah, it's kind of meaningless.
Simply 5 units, that's it.
It's just 5 units now. Go ahead. Okay, name's Ed Welly. I'm architect representing the owner for the project. And these will be condominium units. So if we were in a subdivision and building 5 houses, nobody would think they had to be publicly accommodated. You wouldn't think that you have to have a ramp to get to your house. You'd leave it up to the individual owner of the home, whether they wanted to make it accessible or not. And we're maintaining that these will be operated as 6 separate individual houses. There's 5 individual houses so that public accommodation should not be required. Additionally, this is a historic home. It's on the National Register. It's at the gateway to a historic district on the west side of Fort Wayne. If you'd like, I can go into a lot of the history if you want. It was owned by the original publisher of the Fort Wayne Sentinel, who was a publisher for many years of the newspaper, designed by Wing Mahurin, one of the most recognized historic architects in Fort Wayne. There's a beautiful porch on the front of the building with railings that would be blocked if we had to build a ramp. The site itself, the third thing that's causing a problem, the site itself is only 53 foot wide and approximately 13 feet from the public sidewalk to the front of the porch. There's almost a 5 foot elevation change from the public sidewalk to the porch itself, which we require with the slope and landings, 70, 75 foot
of ramp to make it accessible. So we've got historic issues with trying to put the ramp there. We've got physical issues with the space. And the reality is that, you know, as a private residence, it shouldn't need to be public accommodated.
I understand the hardships you face, but you don't get any points with me in suggesting that requirements for a class one multifamily structure shouldn't be required because they wouldn't be required if this was 5 separate class two structures.
Let me understand.
I guess my question would be, why are you building them as class one instead of as townhomes?
Because of the state of the historic structure, we couldn't get dividing walls all the way through, up through the attic and all. There's horizontal separations between the units, and the difficulty of getting them separated looked extremely challenging.
Explain the future of differences to them. The front of the building looks like this. There is really no side property to put the ramps. And it would be difficult to get the ramps from here to the sidewalk. Also, one of the units has a separate entrance off the side. Another unit has a separate entrance off the back, and that's how you access those. So there's really only 3 units that would be accepting off of the front. So 3 units would be the only ones able to use a ramp anyway. And if we put the ramp in, it would block, I mean, literally would be very difficult to even get anywhere else on, or see the front of the building, which would negatively impact the value also. So I mean, to build a ramp for only 3 units, being able to access it and block the view of the building. And also the beautiful ornate porch. I also know that the historic district would be very upset about the ramp as well.
But the ADA requires this, correct?
For 3 units?
One of the units would have to be accessible per the chapter 11.
Because, I mean, we've had this discussion how many times, but then at the end of the day, we can't, you can still be sued.
Yeah.
In federal court. I mean, we,
building, but it's actually ADA.
yeah, I mean,
Pushes it.
for us to go into, you know, prove something that's counter with the ADA.
But wouldn't it be the owner of the facility that would be sued? I mean,
Yeah, but, yeah, because I'm looking at, I have it on Google Maps, I'm looking at the front. And,
Ed Rensick, RTM Consultants. I'd like to make a comment about that. Housing, multifamily housing isn't covered by the ADA, so they can't get sued under the ADA. It's also not subject to the Fair Housing Act, which would normally apply to multifamily housing, but it does not, unlike the ADA, which has no beginning date. The Fair Housing Act only applies to buildings built after 1991. So there is no federal requirement for accessibility here.
this is a remodel.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's an existing.
If it's even if it's a change of use, any building built before 1991 is not subject to the Federal Fair Housing Act.
And Specifically, then why is the ramp being required?
That's a good question. Because if this is a if this is a
Building department?
The building department brought it up.
if this is a renovation project and it's not a change of occupancy, I don't see why the variance is required.
Well, and I don't know, because I'm not familiar with what you're doing there right now. That I know, I dealt with the Maddox group before. You're not with, oh, you.
I'm Melissa Maddox, at WMW Development Company, I'm the owner of that. And we had the building sprinkled and all of that, so, you know, we've done everything we can to accommodate, you know.
Well, yeah, because we were the ones who made you sprinkle.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You or us?
Well,
It was local because.
yeah, we
got
made
the
it.
regulations on-
You guys were gonna take it to the commission, but I don't believe you did because you would have lost. We're just putting it kind of bluntly. But yeah, we didn't write you up for that. It must have been the building department that wrote you up for
Thanks
that.
to the local building department, framing inspector came through and said, oh, by the way, you need to have a ramp to your front porch.
We were approved without it by everybody.
So this.
Well, we don't deal with that. As far as fire, we don't deal with that. Ramp, as far as the ADA, that's the building department who deal with that. So they did get a change of use, but they went from a change of use from a private residential home to what it was at one time. Someone at some time had put some apartments in there unbeknownst to us. And so we had them go from a class 2 structure to a class 1 structure. That's why they had to add the sprinkler system.
Just a little further than I thought. But I just wondered that, you know, what's the trigger for the enforcement?
Yeah, well, that's what it was.
Okay.
It went from a class
I
to
get
a
it.
class 1.
Okay.
Because they put apartments inside there. Well, they changed the condos because initially you were gonna do.
Back, no,
No, it's all
condos
condos.
to start, but, I mean, it's got quite a varied history. It started out as a private residence. When the original owner passed away, it was used as a funeral home for a number of years. When the funeral home got a new facility closer to downtown, according to the historic reports, it was converted to apartments at that time. It had been apartments for a long time. I think they were probably, I think originally it was maybe only 4 units from the historic data I found. And probably at the time the building was last used, there were probably 10 or more. Okay, 13.
It's all 13, but yeah. Anyway,
So it's had quite a history. The current developer wants to, or is in the process of restoring the building, making it a
Beautiful.
gem of the community. And we had a framing inspector insist that we had a ramp.
So is there a variance required or not?
Yeah, because it's a class 1 structure now. I went from a class 2, from a private residential home to a class 1. So, and that's what prompted the sprinkler system and some other features that they had to do at the time, which they've done. But I didn't hear about the building department wanting to have the addition, but I understand why, because they were to a class 1 structure.
Because I'm real cautious about that area as far as handicaps. I don't want to open up can of farms. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah, for down the road.
We do have an elevator in the building. I mean, this building was in front of improvements. And our team came alongside of this building, investing nearly $2 million to try to make this building not be torn down. Lots of structural things. We've tackled a lot of things. And, you know.
I remember you guys had that too.
Yeah, y'all have to come down and tour it again. It's looking great. But I think if we were to put it out,
So you had an elevator. How does somebody get to the elevator?
Well, only you have to get up to the first level before you can utilize it. There's a unit on the 3rd floor. And it was
called the penthouse.
mostly put in to access the unit on the 2nd and 3rd floor. As a convenience for those owners.
12 inches.
getting groceries and other things.
Yeah, I was just wondering. Probably 60 feet. They're coming in 3 families. They have to go from the sidewalk. Right here.
I'm just having I need to discuss a question that I don't know the answer to related to actual code requirements. So change of use, fine. It's now an R2, I believe, right? Is that? So our administrative code says when you do a change of use, you upgrade it to the, current rules. Our rules are related on the 2012 IBC. In the accessibility chapter, when it talks about existing buildings, we amend any reference to existing buildings out. So by amending any reference to existing buildings in the accessibility chapter out, are we to interpret that as you don't need to upgrade an existing building, or are we interpret that as an existing building, if it's change of use, needs to be upgraded to the current code?
If it's new construction, you're getting a change of use and it's new building, which is why we hear all the things that's new, right? Yeah. Correct. Restoration. There's a difference. There's a difference between restoration and remodel. This would be treated as new construction, to meet new code.
But it was multifamily when we got it. It was multifamily when we got it.
We're just trying to figure out on our end why I guess I understand why you would.
Honestly, you add a ramp to the front, you can really only access one apartment, really.
Yeah.
Because if you're in a wheelchair, you're not gonna get to the elevator. You have so many other accessibility pathway issues in here.
It's just
that you have more problems. You're only gonna access one unit.
It's just a weird configuration because if it were apartments, then I would agree because anybody can rent the apartments.
Yes.
And you can get to into the structure.
Yep.
But being that someone's going, what is it, 3 foot?
I went to our separately.
Within this structure.
Well, side of equipment. So you've got one unit, you said off to the side.
Every unit's gonna have stairs.
If there's no room, there's no room to even do anything over here either. And elongate the ramp so you can keep it at the proper slope. There's no way they can ever do it and stay with the slope.
It's only for furniture, to take furniture upstairs now,
Actually, that's even smaller, yeah.
The way
it's just a weird term because
Yeah.
it became a class 1 structure. But they're going to sell these as private condos. And so there's no common area for someone to, like with an apartment complex where you have a common area.
Yeah.
Because there's a small little common area where you walk in off that porch, but then it's like boom, boom, boom up to the apartments.
Right. Looking at the pictures, it doesn't look like there's any way they can ever install a ramp and be at the proper slope. It's impossible.
You
That's
got
gonna-
historical people that you're gonna deal with too.
What's that?
You got the historical people you're gonna deal with too, that are gonna.
Oh, exactly.
Which is why this has taken like
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah, but the historical part is, I look at the Indiana Landmark Center, and they've done some pretty ingenious things with accessibility over there at the State Historic Preservation Advocacy Group. So I don't think being historic necessarily preclude you from trying, but certainly we like that is a challenge, you know, and a challenge that needs to be undertaken when you do a historic building.
I think you could get the ramp, honestly. And I think you could meet historical character too. But again, you're only going to one unit. That's it. Not getting it.
Or someone's got to go and buy that particular unit.
Yeah, it's not beneficial. I don't see how it's beneficial. The ramp is beneficial to the property.
Have you attempted to, again, I don't know if I fully understand the constraints that are preventing you from installing a ramp on one side or the other, not the frontage, but like.
You don't have any property line. This is actually on the property line here.
Yeah, and then on
So
the other
there's, and
side.
then on the other side, there's no property line. Here, I've got
That's
pictures.
right.
You'll see the.
Yeah.
There's no side yard.
There's no side yard at all. This is the side. You can't, that's the
It's out.
no way of doing it.
I
The
would
whole
like
front
to
yard.
see the back.
Yeah.
Maybe it could do something in the
Look,
back.
there's just like no front yard. I mean, you'd have to.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not impossible to try to figure it out on the street side, but there'd be a coordination with, I mean, that's us trying to solve your problem for you. Where like it'd be a challenge to work through with the city to figure out how you can install a ramp with the sidewalk there, and it's not impossible. It's just, it'd be really difficult.
My only issue with it is, how do we, because the building department, I know the local Allen County Building Department, they will write it up, but then they put it off to the ADA, which is how they usually bring that up. So it's not really us, it's ADA is what they typically say. I don't know how you appease that.
Because it's not subject to the ADA.
Yeah.
The ADA does not cover multifamily housing unless it's at a place of education. So it's not subject to the ADA. It's not subject to Fair Housing Act. So they don't have any conflict.
But it still is subject to a 117.1.
It is. I'll throw this out. I'm not trying to create more work, but the way I think the variance should be approved because there's very little benefit here and they're privately owned residences. And if somebody really wants to have a ramp for their unit, they can build it after they buy it. But this could go through a chapter 34 and that would kick out chapter 11, at least for any existing features that are not compliant. So when we do a chapter 34 evaluation on an existing multifamily, or let's say a conversion to a multifamily, we grandfather out any existing condition that it doesn't comply with. So it's got 4 or 5 feet up to the first floor, and I've had several of those like that, then that's an existing condition. So you're not required to bring that up to code.
I agree with both ends. Yeah, just get, that's the whole reason we look at the variances, because they're always going to be, I know we talk about precedent, but they're always going to be a one-off.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a one-off.
This is like a one-off I've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly. I don't see how it can be done. Personally, I just want to make sure that we are not in conflict with any ADA law.
Yeah, ADA,
You're okay because it's just building code and PNC.
so it's not public commerce, so.
You mentioned the way out, chapter 34.
Well, he's got a variance on
But
here.
they have to pay me money to do that, and I don't need the work, so it would be better to just approve the variance.
Would we want to make a motion to approve based on 8117? That one, and do it that way, right? I don't need one bench day. And even though I agree with that.
I just don't, in the future, I don't want us to be painted into a corner of, you just outdid this 6 months ago, a place up north, then we get 6 months down the road, we get our keisters handed to us because of.
You've had other similar variances. It's just frankly, this issue would have been sort of embedded in the variance. Take, for example, the other one I did in Fort Wayne here recently. I mean, well, we basically said we were gonna meet code, so, you know, that's kind of a.
We did that one on 5.
Right, so I mean, it's been done before, it's just that it's when there's a few units involved and it's an existing condition on an historic facility. I think that that's been something the commission has approved before.
I second that. Yeah, I'm not sure if we necessarily need the extra word.
I don't think you do.
Yeah, I don't think I do. I'll
The
make
variance is requested to 1103.1 on the code. And it's chapter 11 zoning code that references the ICC answer to that.
I'll make a motion to approve because I do think it's clearly a one-off situation.
Just to approve.
Yes.
I'm curious second.
I'll
No,
second.
There you go. All right, Commissioner Burgess,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Chris,
Yes.
Mr. Davidson, Jeff Scheid,
Yes.
Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Catarina,
Yes.
Vice Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Porter,
Yes.
Mr. Slaughter,
Yes.
Mr. Buckner.
Yes.
Yes. I know it took us a long time, but it's fine.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's up to
Oh, let's go boys.
And out of town clients here on one after the first one I've got, but I can get both of them done here quick.
Go ahead, Ed. So when you hear from IHS first, so.
Yep, so 24/7/33 Farm Mennonite School.
Yeah, this is a school. It's a 5E construction. 5E construction layout allows 1 story for the occupancy. They are requesting the 2 stories. Ed Rensink, RTM Consultants. So this is a 2-story school building and on a rural site. The first floor is 5,920 square feet. We have a relatively small second floor area of 2,162. It's not really that much more than would be permitted for a mezzanine, but it's just over 33% for a mezzanine. Otherwise, we would comply because we do have a direct exit to the exterior from at least one from the second floor. We are asking for a type 5B construction for a 2-story. We are within the allowable area. Well, first, let me explain the construction. It is a conventional wood frame. They have a metal roof, metal siding. The interior, they have a metal ceiling, so it's a pretty basic building. The interior of the exterior walls have a pre-finished paneling. The interior walls are wood stud with gypsum board, and then the floor structure has gypsum board on the underneath. So we are within the allowable area for a type 5B building. Allowable area per floor would be 16,625. Again, we're less than a third of that. We are providing a fire alarm system, which is required by code, but also a smoke detection system throughout, which is not required by code. So that would be in addition to the fire alarm system tied to that system. Travel distance is just 90 feet, so it's short travel distance. Code permits up to 200 feet. Again, we do have a direct exterior to the exterior from the second floor as one of those means of egress. So the issue is that the cost for a structure of non-combustible would be approximately $350,000 versus about $100,000 for it as built, because this is a community where they will do their own, a lot of their own construction if it's wood frame. There is a kitchen involved. They just have domestic style equipment. They don't have professional cooks. The moms will do the cooking for the school. So it's just a domestic equipment.
How much is it to do a 1-story building versus a 2-story?
Well, second story area is about, home builders here will know this answer better than me, but I think it comes out to about 30 or 40% of the cost of a first floor area. So are you asking if we spread it all out?
Yeah, I mean, your site plan has plenty of room.
Yeah,
Seems like you could comply with the code and just use a little bit of that extra couple acres.
I mean, it would cost more because your square footage is always a lot less on the upper floor than it is the first floor.
But then you'd have a straight egress out for your classrooms.
We do now. I mean, in terms of at least one exit to the exterior. The other thing is that it shows a corridor up there, but it's actually just an open balcony. So you can see down into the space below. So, and again, we have detection throughout. So we think it's not adverse to safety as proposed.
There'd
be a premium for spreading it out.
Yeah, but
I can't tell you it's a huge amount, but it's going to be something more than just the square footage as it is.
It is, because you got more roof, you've got more foundation, when you're trading more expenses for than stairs, it would be more, but.
Then we have detection throughout, so it's a meaningful. It's really not a life safety question at all.
And I understand you correctly, this is just a little bit over what would be allowed as a mezzanine.
Yeah, if we could let's see, if we had about 1,900 square feet, we'd be there. Then we could call it a mezzanine because the rules for a mezzanine, you're allowed to enclose portions of a mezzanine if you have at least one of the exits is directly to, is one of the means of egress is a direct exit, which often is an enclosed stair. In this case, it's directly to the exterior via an exterior stairway. So yeah, it's close. I didn't really think about that until this morning, but it's very close. Then we would be here and it'd be a one story with a mezzanine. So you could do a one story with a mezzanine. If we had a bigger first floor, if we had a lot bigger first floor, I wouldn't need a variance. Because the percentages work either way. You can either make one bigger or the other smaller. So, I mean, that's a good point. If we had a 6,300 square foot first floor, I wouldn't be here. So of the bigger building, I don't need a variance.
Then make it 630 bigger. Make your gym a little bigger and then.
Well, if the variance isn't approved, they might do something like that, but I won't want to offer that because it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make it any safer.
I'll move to approve.
I like that, I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. Burgess? Yes. Mr. Cook?
No.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Height? Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Farina? Yes. Vice Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner? Sorry, Mr. Slaughter?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
I don't feel that moving your numbers a little bit is gonna make it any safer either, so I vote yes as well.
Okay. That was great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Do you have the next one as well? I'm sorry, so you said you have the next one as well?
Yes, and that's my out of town clients here, so that we
From EHS?
Okay.